we can talk about these other two series in the Eastern Conference. I don't know which one you want to talk about first, which one sounds better to you, but I'm actually equally intrigued for different reasons. Number 3, Knicks versus number 6 Pistons. Number 4 Pacers versus number 5 Bucks. I guess we'll just go in numerical order. We can start with the 3-6 matchup, Knicks Pistons. I'm going with the Knicks in this series, but I do think the Pistons finally get over their playoff wins drought. The last time they won a playoff game, I was 14 years old, Kyle. So put that in perspective.
So that means I was 13.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It was May. You would definitely watch the game. It was against the Celtics. It was 2008 Eastern Conference Finals game 4.
Yep.
Game 4, the last playoff game the Pistons won. Now I don't know if they'll get one in Madison Square Garden to start the series, but I'm really excited. Similarly to what we talked about with Houston, this Pistons team gets to grow up. They have Tobias Harris in that starting lineup. He will help them a little bit. Malik Beasley coming off the bench, another guy who has been in some postseason situations before, but seeing the playoff debuts of Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren will be really exciting for those guys, and also excited for that Pistons fan base in the city of Detroit, because Little Caesars is going to be rocking for game 3 when they come back to Detroit. So I'm expecting a good series. I think they'll get 1, maybe 2 off of the Knicks, but ultimately I think the Knicks they better take care of business, because if the Knicks don't take care of business there, so there will be some big changes in Manhattan.
I actually think that like the Knicks are the team that have the most pressure on them without people really talking about the amount of pressure that is like on the Knicks, or the amount of pressure they're facing. Because like you said, like early exit could mean like would Tibbs get fired? Like would they go ahead and break up like the Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart? Like, obviously it feels like Jalen Brunson and Cat are there to stay, but like would they make a big swing like that to try and bring in a different superstar? Kevin Durant's going to be available. We already talked about that last week. Like, so the Knicks are facing a lot of pressure. To go back to the whole X Factors thing, I had Asar Thompson down as a major X Factor in this one, because I think he is going to spend a lot of time guarding Jalen Brunson. And for those who forgot just how good JB was in the playoffs last year, this guy had 5 40-point games. The only players in NBA history that have had more than 5 40-point games in a single playoff series, it's like Michael Jordan, Jerry West, Allen Iverson, Bernard King, and LeBron James are like the only players that have ever done that. So Jalen Brunson was cooking last postseason. He's also just another one of those guys who rise up for big games, big occasions, winner through and through. I got the Knicks winning this series in 6 games, but I really do think that we are going to see Cade Cunningham assert himself as one of the best players in the NBA if he hasn't already. He's going to do it on a national stage, on a playoff stage where, even the casual fan will realize, oh, this Cade Cunningham kid is like next up, and he is, one of those guys in the league. Like, I think I would even go as far as say, like, there's going to be a game where Cade hits a game winner and it's like he had 35 points, 12 assists, 6 rebounds and a game winner. And it's like, okay, Cade is for real and Cade is here. But, I think that the Knicks playoff experience is eventually going to prevail. Not that, like you said, Tobias Harris has playoff experience. Like different guys on the Pistons have playoff experience, but I really think the Knicks are going to. Dennis Schroeder has playoff experience. I'm sure he'll spend some time guarding Jalen Brunson too, but it's like, at the end of the day, the Knicks should be the more talented team. I know they've struggled to beat teams with winning records this year, but I think they kind of put those woes aside. They get it done in the playoffs, but it's going to look good on the Pistons the way that they go out. That's kind of my take for the series.
I agree with you on the 6-game series as we talk through it, because it feels like one of these series where Knicks take care of business in game 1 and 2, and people start talking about the Pistons having lost 16 playoff games in a row, and the narrative just gets big. Are they going to get swept and all of this stuff? Then they go back home, and like I mentioned, it's going to be rocking, and they use the energy on their crowd. Maybe they catch the Knicks sleeping a little bit, and they win the next 2, and that's all they got. But it's going to be a sign of what's to come for this franchise, and the Knicks close it out game 5 and game 6 and get it done in Detroit. But I think that similar to what we were saying, and it's very different because they're a lower seed, but what we were saying about the Rockets, this playoff series for them is nothing to hang their heads on. They won 14 games last year. And now they're here in the playoffs. We're talking about them making a team who came into the season as a title contender, making them sweat in the first round. I think that's huge. And talking about being ahead of schedule, definitely ahead of schedule. And then they'll have an opportunity to build on this. So we'll look back at this first round series. As you said, Cade Cunningham announcing his arrival. Another name I wrote down is Mitchell Robinson. Just, again, a guy getting in the playoff mode and playoff form, because the Knicks' depth is going to be what makes or breaks their ceiling, and it might not be that high of a ceiling in this postseason, but him and his ability to, spot Karl-Anthony Towns and do that stuff in the front court will be huge for New York. Now, the other one, I'm excited about this one, even though somehow, for whatever reason, it's going to be on ESPNU and NBA TV in the States for one of the games. Bucks Pacers. I already said it in the first half of the show. We got the best player in the world, Nikola Jokic, on NBA TV in the first ever playoff game in the Intuit Dome. And then Friday, we got the second best player in the world, Giannis Antetokounmpo, on a simulcast game on NBA TV and ESPNU because it's going against the NFL. I don't know. I'm not here to rant about that. Maybe I am a little bit, but besides all of that, this series is going to be the goods because people might forget about the history they had that goes back last year, but there's real history, real smoke between the Pistons and the Bucks franchises. Central Division rivalry.
I have bad news for anybody who has ever been in the camp that Giannis is the face of the league. You cannot be on ESPNU for a playoff series taking second fiddle to the second round of the NBA draft.
That's tough.
Giannis is that guy, man. He's a hell of a player, but you are not the face of the league if you are on ESPNU going up against the second round of the NFL draft. The NFL better hope that like Ashton Jeanty falls to the second round or something like that. To how are they going to justify kicking a NBA playoff series between two really damn good teams over to ESPNU?
ESPNU, man.
Gil told me that one during the break, and it blew my head off.
It's like you Milwaukee versus you Indy or something like that. Like this is the Bucks and the Pacers.
Marquette
Respect to you Milwaukee and you Indy, but come on.
What's going on, man? But this was a great series last year, and Giannis didn't even play. And this is the season series have been very competitive over the last couple of years. I think that people who haven't been tapped into Indiana Pacers basketball might not know that the only teams that won more games in 2025 after the calendar year flipped to 2025, the only teams that won more games than the Pacers were the Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics. Like the Pacers are playing really, really good basketball. Tyrese Haliburton got off to a pretty disastrous start to the season. And now like people are talking about him like he's going to be all NBA second team. Like that's the type of turnaround that he's had. Obviously Pascal was an all-star again this year, and it was cool to see him get back to that level. But, I think the Pacers win this series. I got the Pacers winning in 6 games. It's not to count out Giannis. It's just that it's a lot to overcome without Dame. And I know that they're saying that Dame might be able to come back. I don't want him to rush. And I'm curious to see what type of player he even is if he comes back. I mean, hey, maybe they keep saying he's ahead of schedule, but I'm like, what does that really mean in terms of a blood clot? Like, is there like, how, can your conditioning really be there? Are you going to be ready to go game speed? Obviously he's a massive playoff difference maker. If he does play, but it just feels like no matter what he can do once he gets back, it's probably not going to be at the level that he was playing at before he, had to step aside due to the blood clot issue. Giannis has been incredible in his spot. Like I can't give Giannis enough credit for the way that he is taking his game to another level since Dame went out. And the Bucks are coming into the series on an 8-game win streak. Yep. So I'm not completely counting them out. Giannis is averaging I think it was 31, 12, and 9 since Dame has been out of the lineup. But, I do think that in terms of firepower, we keep talking about one team had more firepower than the other in the East. I do think the Pacers just have too much firepower, and they're going to have enough bodies that they can throw at Giannis to make his life difficult. And Bobby Portis is going to try and step up as much as he can. He's trying to get back into a rhythm after serving a 25-game suspension. Where is the other offense and contributions going to come from in Milwaukee now that Chris Middleton's gone? Is it going to be Kuz? Is it going to be KPJ? Those are not necessarily names that you want to be relying on in the playoffs, where with the Pacers, where it's coming from. Miles Turner can guard Brook Lopez. Pascal's going to bring it. Tyrese Haliburton's going to bring it. They got guys on the wing in Nesmith and Nembhard. And I feel like Benedict Mathurin as well, who also wasn't available in the playoffs the entire time last year. Yeah. And he talked about how excited he is to get back to the playoff stage and playing in big games like that. So, I really think the Pacers just have too much firepower. If Dame was healthy, I actually think I would probably pick the Bucks in this series. But for now, without knowing what his level of contribution is really going to be, I got the Pacers.
Yeah, the Dame thing looms really, really large. But that being said, I'm going against all of my conventional wisdom because everything is telling me to pick the Pacers, and I'm picking Bucks in 7. Hey, I'm going Bucks in 7 because I feel like this is Giannis's first healthy playoff since 2022, right? Because, last year was the calf and he didn't play. Year before that, he had the back thing that kept him in and out of lineup, and they lost to the Heat. So if we know anything about
hobbling out there too,
hobbling, it shouldn't have been playing. This is, I think, knowing what we know about Giannis, he is starving to get back out there and go out and really just this. And I'm really buying into it because I saw this narrative play on Twitter, but maybe we see Giannis tap into that 2018 Bron. This is the opportunity to do it, right? When they were the 4 seed that year, but they played the Pacers in the first round, and he just went into, hey, look, I'm the best player in the world. I wasn't MVP or anything like that, but the Bucks have me and you don't. And that's just going to be the difference. And, there were, that series was ugly too, right? Like the Cavs got blown out by the Pacers in some of those games. But in the day, we had the game winners from LeBron, and the big plays from LeBron, the big performances from LeBron. So it's going to take that type of Herculean effort from Giannis. But we talked about the way he closed the season. And honestly, people have kind of maybe turned their eye to it. And there's the whole Doc Rivers thing and people not paying attention to him. So that'll be big. And I think the big part of Giannis's playmaking, Gary Trent Jr., I looked at the numbers. 4 games against the Pacers last year, this past season, 16 of 27 from 3. That's 59.3% from 3 in 4 games. So he's going to be the guy, I think, where if he spot up, knock down jumpers, that will make a big difference for them in this series. But again, I think the Pacers have the better team. All respect to them and what Tyrese Halliburton's doing. It's going to be big for him to get back home in Wisconsin and play in the playoffs again. But I'm just siding with Giannis because it's our first time seeing playoff Giannis in a while. It's a shame that you have to, kind of check your local listings to find game 3. But aside from that, it'll be a good one. And I'm excited about this series because, like you said, we think about the game ball incident last year and everything they played in the NBA Cup in 2023 as well. So there's a lot of these teams have played a lot of times in the past 18, 20 months. So how about 7 more this April and May?
And not for nothing, but like everything lines up for Giannis to be able to have that level of takeover series. Cause like I said it casually, like, oh, they got bodies they can throw at Giannis, but like Giannis has historically torched the Pacers. Torched them. Like I didn't pull it up, but I remember looking at it earlier this year for something I was doing for work. And like, I'm going to throw a random number out there. This probably isn't going to be right, but it's going to be close. But Giannis has scored 30 points against the Pacers in like 16 of the last 18 games that they've played or something like that.
And one of those was like 64.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think he had like it was like 49 or something. It was like just shy of 50, like a game before that or 2 games before that. Like he historically kills the Pacers. Miles Turner can't do nothing with him. Pascal Siakam can't do nothing with him. I mean, if they throw a combination of those bodies at him, and I've said it over and over again, like I think teams have sort of figured out a way to contain Giannis in the playoffs. You can't fully stop him. You can contain him. But if he does end up taking over the series completely and, the Bucks end up winning, like you say, like, I don't think it's that crazy to say. Like, even though I agree with you full through and through, the Pacers have the better team. Giannis is the best player in the series, and he might just go out there and prove it. And if he does that, then all of a sudden, like, are the Cavs in trouble in the second round? Because if he's playing at that level to knock off Indiana and the way that they've been playing, maybe he could do it again and knock off Cleveland. But, Giannis is, I agree with you. I think that he is somebody who has almost been forgotten a little bit. Yeah. People have taken his 30, 15, and like 8 a night for granted, as crazy as that is to say out loud. And we could be seeing a historic playoff performance from him if the Bucks can advance without Damian Lillard potentially.
Yeah, one final thought on that series, and I think, again, the Pacers are talented. Tyrese Halliburton is definitely Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, however you want to shake it, second and third best players in the series when Dame isn't healthy. It's more of a conversation than when he is. But I think the gap between 1 and 2 is just so great. I think that's kind of what makes it feel like similar to, I mean, even if the Bucks were to advance, and we'll cross that bridge if and when we get to it. But Donovan Mitchell, great. Darius Garland, all those guys are great. But like those are guys we're talking about in the, probably after 10 range of, 10 to 20s best players in the NBA. So, guy who's number 2, the gap between 2 and whatever it is, makes a big difference. So you heard it here first, potentially. Kyle's got the Pacers win the series. I got the Bucks win the series. But if the Bucks go on a run, wouldn't be surprised, just because at the end of the day in the playoffs, oftentimes talent wins. And this is the NBA Cup champions we're talking about. Thanks for checking out NBA Sound System Canada on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe below and find us wherever you get your podcasts. And on Instagram, we have weekly episodes and bonus content throughout the week.